If you've just acquired your first Mac, there are a few things that you should do to have a great experience with your new computer. Here are 20 things you should consider doing with your new Mac. Over the holidays, a number of people become first-time Mac owners, be it from generous loved ones providing an exceptional gift or simply taking advantage of some great deals to get their own. There is a collection of people who's taken their first steps into Mac ownership. If you're watching this, you're probably part of the small group starting their Mac adventure. Aside from unboxing everything, here's what you may want to do with your new computing appliance. It seems like an obvious thing to do, but not everyone knows their way around their physical Mac or MacBook. Getting it out of the box is a perfect time to become familiar with the device before placing it whenever it's mainly going to be used. Using the documentation that comes with it, have a look at the ports. They're on the sides on a MacBook Air or MacBook Pro, while the iMac range and the Mac Mini put them to the rear. For the most part, Apple use very common ports that you will probably be familiar with, including HDMI for video, USB-A and USB-C, and for desktop Macs, Ethernet. Bear in mind that the USB-C ports are also used for Thunderbolt connection, more than just USB. Find where the ports are on your Mac early to save time down the road. The new 14-inch and 16-inch MacBook Pro models also provide you with MagSafe, which is a dedicated power port. You can also use a USB-C port to recharge your MacBook Air or Pro. Taking the time to look at what ports are available will help you know exactly what you can connect up to your Mac and know best to arrange cables in your workspace. It may also help you work out if you would invest in an extra dock to expand your port selection a bit. Once you've got your Mac or MacBook in place and connected up, the next thing is to set up the Mac itself. While it may seem daunting and many things will be asked of you at first, remember that this is a one-time thing that you won't have to go through again until you get a new Mac. Thankfully, Apple also made it relatively easy to go through the entire process, with it guiding you through every step of the way. Though you could go through all of the elements in one sitting, there's usually the option to skip some parts. Any skipped section can always be completed later on, or selections change at a later time. So it all starts by turning on the Mac, selecting your country or region, and enable any accessibility option if required. You then need to set up your connection to the network, which may require you to enter a Wi-Fi hotspot password. Once you can access the network and the internet, you're asked if you want to transfer data to your new Mac. While you may not have a previous Mac to transfer your personal data from, the migration assistant can do it with the Windows desktop as well, though it's entirely fine to skip this part altogether and do it later. The migration assistant can help you transfer your data to the new Mac. Moving on, the steps are well explained by macOS, like sign into iCloud and enable Siri, so there is no need for me to repeat them here. There's a good chance that if you're buying a Mac for the first time, you already use an iPhone or an iPad. Just like those other devices, your Mac wants your Apple ID and Apple ID password. You connect iCloud on your Mac when you first set it up, or through the Apple ID system preference afterwards. If you skip this step, initial setup, I recommend to do it as soon as possible to keep your data secure and synced with iCloud. By connecting iCloud on all your devices, you can share photos, contacts, calendars, and much more without ever having to physically tether or sync your devices. Many critical features like Keychain that store your password and sensitive data, or Find My that can locate and control your lost or stolen Mac, can only work with an active Apple ID. If you haven't created an Apple ID, here's your chance. The last thing you want to happen to your lovely new Mac setup is to lose any of your personal data. Not everyone chooses to do so, but it's cheap and straightforward to get a basic backup plan in action. To get started, you need an external drive. You could be fancy by using a network-attached storage device, but all you need is an external hard drive that connects over USB-A or USB-C. On the software side, you can go down the route of using third-party tools, but you can easily get a lot of protection using the built-in Time Machine feature. To get going, click the clock with the counterclockwise arrow icon in the menu bar, then open Time Machine Preferences. Time Machine is Apple's built-in backup feature in macOS. With your external drive attached to the Mac, click Select Backup Disk, then select the drive, then Use Disk. If you want to, you could take the opportunity to also encrypt backups for extra privacy. Once it's set up, it will automatically back up your files or new file changes every hour while your Mac is active and connected to the drive. The initial backup will take a while, but your data will be protected from accidental loss after that. As a side note, it's probably a good idea to look into paying for Apple Care Plus just in case something goes wrong hardware-wise, as it could help you save you from an expensive repair bill. If you're going to be making any major changes to your Mac settings, you're probably going to be doing it through the System Preferences. By clicking the Apple icon in the menu followed by System Preferences, you can bring up the macOS equivalent to the Windows control panel. System Preferences deals with many areas, including manage your Apple ID, your display, how your macOS functions in various ways, network settings, and various peripherals and feature controls. You can go to System Preferences to change important settings within your macOS. To maintain security, sometimes you cannot immediately change settings within System Preferences. The settings may be locked and cannot be changed in some cases. To unlock the settings, click the locked padlock in the bottom left of the window. Then, authenticate using your account password or Touch ID. Once you've finished changing settings, it's good practice to click the open padlock again to lock it and the settings down. A big change in macOS Ventura is the shift of System Preferences to System Settings. As the name alludes, this marks the transformation from the long-time tiled icon UI default to one more aligned with iOS, but it still has the same settings features. If this is your first time owning a Mac, you might not know the multitask gestures that you can do quickly to trigger some actions. Apple spent a lot of time perfecting these gestures to feel intuitive and easy to remember, so don't let the effort go to waste. With a multitask trackpad or the Magic Mouse, you can tap, swipe, pinch, or spread one or more fingers to perform useful actions. For example, you can tap with 3 fingers to look up a word in the dictionary, or open Notification Center by swiping left from the right edge with 2 fingers. You can also access more settings about these gestures by going to System Preferences, then clicking Trackpad or Mouse. Within these settings, you can turn a gesture off, change the type of gesture, and learn which gestures work with your Mac. You can also check Apple's support page for all the gestures you need to know. I will leave it in the description below. So this may be something that takes some trial and error, but macOS default screen scaling, aka resolution, isn't for all. So open System Preferences, click the Apple icon in the top left corner of your screen, and then select System Preferences, and then click Displays. And the resolution, select Scaled. You can now adjust from having large text or more space on your screen. Try them all and see what you like. Currently, I'm sticking with default, but I keep considering more space. Then there are 2 other settings that I always turn off. I'm the type who wants full control over my screen, so I disable automatically adjust brightness, because I don't need macOS fiddling with my brightness level based on my ambient lighting, since I change rooms often. I also turn off True Tone, another of Apple tools that changes your display due to ambient lighting. It tries to find the true white balance for you, and I often find it becoming more yellow than what I like. That's the last thing I need when I'm editing photos and videos on my MacBook Pro. It will destroy the color accuracy. The Apple menu is in the upper left corner of your Mac screen. Clicking on it gives you instant access to your Mac System Preferences, the Mac App Store, and apps and documents you've recently opened. You can also use the Apple menu to restart your Mac and shut it down. If an app misbehaves and stops working, the Apple menu also sports a special function that's worth knowing. Force Quit. Force Quit will immediately quit a stubborn application, so you can restart your computer and get back to business. The menu bar can be defined as a graphical control element comprising of drop-down menus. The menu bar is designed for housing application-specific menus on Mac system. Unlike Windows and many Linux desktop environments, macOS doesn't attach a menu to each application window. Instead, it features a single global menu bar that switches context to the active application. The macOS menu bar is consistent and persistent if you want it to be. This menu bar features other elements such as a basic app launcher, status menu, and access to the control center and notification. You can configure several aspects of the menu bar, appearance, and behavior. The macOS menu bar provides a system menu, a persistent app menu, and a set of status icons. Because it is ubiquitous and always in one place, it's easy to familiarize yourself with it. The dock is that bar of icons that sits at the bottom of the Mac screen. Docks on new Macs will be filled with Apple-owned built-in apps like Safari, Mail, Contacts, Calendar, and Notes, but you can customize it to your liking. You can tailor your dock to show only the apps you care about. Don't use Maps or FaceTime? Okay, drag them out of the dock until the word remove appears on the screen. Use Mail more than anything else? Move it over to the left instead. You can also add applications, folders, and files you need frequently simply by dragging them and dropping them into the dock. You can also change the size, remove the open indicator, turn off the bouncing animation, and much more. Your dock is the most important part of your desktop, so spend some time getting it just the way you want. Most software you're going to run on your Mac will be accessible from the Launchpad, an icon in the dock at the bottom of the screen. You can open Launchpad by clicking the Launchpad icon or by pinching your thumb and 3 fingers together. Once selected, a full screen panel will appear, showing installed apps you can run there and then. If you want more apps, you can download them from the internet directly. But you could also take a look in the Mac App Store. Just as with the App Store for iPhone and iPad, the Mac App Store offers numerous apps you can download and install to your Mac with minimal fuss. The Mac App Store will also handle app updates, and it will alert you if there is any update available to install. You don't necessarily need to download any apps on your first day of ownership, as Apple includes quite a few built-in apps within macOS for you to use. These apps range from entertainment and educational tools to creative apps and even productivity tools for work. For example, Numbers, Pages, and Keynotes are the Apple equivalent of Microsoft Excel, Word, and PowerPoint, respectively. Then there is the Mail app for checking your email, as well as the Calendar app for managing your time. Though you will have to go through a brief process to connect them to any existing online email or calendar services you may already use. Music is one of the many built-in apps included in macOS for you to use. For managing your photographs, there is Photos, and GarageBand and iMovie can be used for music and video creation. There's a lot available to you without needing to go to the Mac App Store. You just have to try them out. The trackpad is very powerful and there are a ton of options and settings. You may already have your favorites if you already used a Mac before. I personally like to turn off the single finger force click to look up something, as well as the tap to click. You get to these settings by going to System Preferences, then Trackpad. From there, click on Point and Click to adjust tapping options, on Scroll and Zoom to adjust scrolling behavior, and on More Gestures to change those options as well. Many people want to adjust the natural scrolling by turning it off on the Scroll and Zoom tab, which will change your scrolling direction. Depending on your computer processor, some developers offer different versions of the app. So for example, if you head over to download page from a website, not the Mac App Store, for example Chrome, you'll notice a note from Google. It asks you whether you want an Intel or M1 Mac version and lists the steps needed to check if you're unsure. But be mindful that if you choose to download an app for Intel on your Apple Silicon Mac, it will work using the translation layer Rosetta 2, but it won't have optimal performance. With your screen starting to be littered with windows, now would be a good time to learn to tame them. The main controls are usually in the top left corner in the form of 3 dots. The left-hand dot, usually red and with a smaller dot in the middle, closes the window. The amber dot in the middle, which also has a dash symbol, minimizes the window to the dock. You can manage windows using these 3 dots. The right-hand dot, green, and with a plus symbol, when you mouse over it, you can make the app expand to full screen mode when clicking straight away. If you mouse over and wait, some apps can also bring up extra options, including zooming into the app, repositioning it to the left or the right half of the display, or even moving it to another display entirely if you have 2 screens connected to the Mac. You can also double tap the window title bar to make it grow to fill the screen or shrink down to its original non-expanded size. Most windows will also allow you to resize the window itself using the cursor, either by mousing over the sides, bottom, or corners, then clicking and dragging them around. If an app hangs, namely becomes unresponsive and may show the spinning beach ball on your screen, your first call to action is to close the window as usual. You may also have to close the app properly by right-clicking the icon in the macOS dock, then selecting Quit. If all else fails, and before you reboot the Mac, you can try the Force Quit option, accessible from the Apple icon in the menu bar like I mentioned before. Your new MacBook or MacBook Pro can automatically adjust display colors to be warmer at night. This makes the display show less blue light at night, and this means that you can more easily use your laptop at night and then go to sleep. This makes a big difference, but you need to turn it on. To get there, go to System Preferences, Display, Night Shift, then Schedule. From there, you can choose sunset to sunrise, or you can set a custom schedule and even adjust the temperature that it changes. Dictation is Apple's speech-to-text solution. It's a reliable way to jot down some notes or get a message type hands-free. Whether you're using an iPhone or a Mac, Dictation works pretty much the same way for the most part. You hit the microphone button, start speaking, and the words magically appear in the text field simultaneously. The microphone button is the F5 keyboard button on your Mac. You can also activate Dictation through clicking Edit in the menu bar, then hitting Start Dictation. A third way would be to go to System Preferences, Keyboard, then Dictation, and set in your own keyboard shortcut to activate it. On Intel Macs, Dictation has a 60-second limit. This means if you're using it, it will interrupt you after 1 minute. Then you would have to start it again and resume speaking. This is a hassle, especially for those of us who use it to type long articles. M1 Macs give you the luxury of a limitless dictation experience. You may use it for as long as you want without any interruptions or needing to enable it again every number of minutes. When you need to get work done, you don't want interruptions. You can set up Do Not Disturb on your Mac to stop notifications from interrupting you. To do so, go to System Preferences, Notifications. Once in there, you can set up a Do Not Disturb option to automatically turn on at specific times, or when the display is sleeping, the screen is locked, or when you are mirroring a TV or a projector. If you've enabled Siri, you've already got a great way to find what you need within macOS. However, there are already extensive search capabilities included within macOS at your fingertips. Spotlight, which is a search engine within macOS, can be summoned by either clicking the magnifying glass in the menu bar or by the keyboard shortcut, Command plus space. This will bring up a text bar that you can immediately type into. You can search for practically anything on your Mac, including text, file names, but it also handles other search topics as well. This includes locations in map, internet queries, and basic unit conversions. You can also access some specific system settings like Do Not Disturb just by searching them. This is also a power user move to learn, as it is quicker to use the keyboard shortcut and to type out a name of an application to launch it than it is to use the mouse or trackpad to click its icon. Last but not least, it's possible that your new macOS isn't up to date. Updating your Mac to the latest available macOS helps you unlock the latest usability and performance improvements. Plus, you get more security. To do this, click the About This Mac from the Apple menu in the top left corner. Then click the Software Update button on the pop-up window. Your Mac will then check for updates. If your Mac is up to date, then the pop-up will say so. Otherwise, you'll be able to see the available update. Click Upgrade Now, and then the process will begin. Well, those are the 20 things you should do or know about when you get your first Mac. Of course, there are other things I did not mention in this video, so if you want to share with us those, please comment below. What other things first-time Mac users should do or know about? I will be making more videos about macOS tips and tricks, so make sure to like and subscribe by clicking the bell icon so you can be the first to see them. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.